Yes, everyone, hello. Welcome back to another episode here on Cluiche. It's another weekend review show. I'm Seamus Brady, your host, joined by Matthew Hurley, the Gaelic Statsman. Matthew, what a weekend. As we were saying on your preview show, we only had football. There wasn't as many games, but I was saying that they would be significant. My God, were they significant, and plenty of headlines coming out over the few games that we had.
Exactly. So yeah, thanks for having me on again, Seamus. From yesterday, I was lucky again to go up as part of the media to the Cork and Westmeath game, and yeah, Cork won again, which is great to see. 4 points over the possible six, which is brilliant. Coming home with the Dubs beating Kerry. Not only were the Dubs delighted, I was delighted as well. Seeing that, to be fair, it was a brilliant win for Dublin. Brilliant morale boosting win for Dublin. I'm sure we'll discuss that in a bit. And I'm sure we'll discuss as well the Armagh-Donegal game today. So many headlines between Michael Murphy coming back, between a certain Zinedine Zidane impression and things like that to happen during the game as well. So and lots of other games up and down the weekend as well. Mayo getting their first win of the season. So yeah, a lot of games. Not a lot of games, I suppose, because there was only football this weekend, but a lot of headlines. Boy, there was a lot of headlines, especially in the top two divisions this weekend.
Certainly was. Looking forward to jumping into it. We're starting off the pod, lads, with a bit of love. I love to see it. Patrick McDonough says, best people on YouTube. Thank you very much, Patrick. Great to see you back on the video again. And Sean O'Malley, again, another returning viewer. Good to see you, Sean. Says Tyrone Mayo was a hard watch. I mean, we'll get into that as well in the comments. That game felt like there was no new rules. I think the only part where it became very apparent was, of course, Jordan Finn's 2-pointer, moments like that. But in general, I didn't see too much evidence of the rules having a big impact on the game. But let's jump right in. So, Alliance Football League, Division 1, Round 3. And we will start with, of course, the Ulster clash. Donegal, 21 points. Armagh, 10 points. And this one obviously took place today in McCool Park. Obviously, Donegal now, off the back of this result, they have beaten the last three All-Ireland champions, Armagh, Dublin and Kerry, in their opening three games of the league. Pretty impressive. And also, Matthew, pretty impressive, the Aidan Forker Zinedine Zidane impression where he headbutts Michael Murphy when Michael Murphy came onto the field. What a moment when Murphy came back in. Obviously, you know, the great man returns, kicks 2 points pretty quickly and looked the business. Donegal looked the real deal.
They do, yeah. They look really, really good. And I suppose in the last 2 weeks, I didn't watch Donegal as much. Obviously, I was paying more attention to Cork and in the media and stuff like that. Today was a free day, so I said I watched Donegal and Armagh, and by God, I was really impressed with them. Like they were attacking every time they went up the field. They looked like they were going to score. They're defending as well. They're turning over the ball. I thought it was absolutely superb. And Armagh didn't have much at all today. Like they were only, what was it, 110 today, one goal, 3 2-pointers and 4 1-pointers. Like they were just nearly outclassed. Armagh, they really were. They got only 8 scores today, and Donegal didn't even need a 2-pointer, which was the most amazing stat of it all. 21 points, 18 from play, all 1-pointers, and 3 from frees. And the big man himself obviously comes back on and kicks a few pointers. I think it was just fitting that the only other guy that won the All-Ireland with Michael Murphy in 2012, got the TG Car man of the match, Patrick McBrearty. I thought he was superb as well. 5 points from play, 6 overall, and I thought he was just a menace all day. And yeah, I think Jimmy's boys are really kicking it up this year. They look hungry, and I think you could see the opposite thing about Armagh, and maybe that's because they won the All-Ireland last year. The hunger just doesn't seem to be in them at the moment. With Donegal, they look primed to win an Ulster title again, an All-Ireland potentially as well. They look goddamn serious. And we'll see about this summer now, but for right now, Donegal look, it's serious battle to go on and win the All-Ireland this summer. And with Michael Murphy coming back, anything's possible.
Yeah, they're looking great, Nick. And I think when people are comparing this era to the Donegal era, obviously in McGuinness's first term, I think the one thing that is quite apparent as well is 2012 also bears very similar in this year, because there isn't a dominant champion. Do you know what I mean? Like 2012, it was a bit open. Cork had won it in 2010, but it felt like Cork were starting to slip into a little bit of a transition period. Dublin as well had won it in 2011 out of the blue, but nobody really put them as favourites to retain the title because they were very much underdogs in terms of winning that All-Ireland. Kerry then found themselves very much in transition phase as well. So it kind of opened up where if Donegal could get it right, It was very much on for them, and they absolutely did get it right. And this year as well, like, I mean, right now, like off the top of my head, I'm looking at it and saying Dublin really, really impressed me with the win over Kerry. So I think you can't write Dublin off. You can't write Kerry off either with the talent that they have. Donegal look unbelievable right now. But as Sean says here, we'll bring up this point. He says, Donegal look great, but do you think, and I'll throw this to you, Matthew, do you think they could gas out like Derry/Mayo, especially because they played Derry straight after the league final?
Could be a point there. I feel like this Donegal team are different to what Derry were that last year, though, because Mickey Harte was kind of a bit of short-termism, if that makes sense. With Jim McGuinness, his aim is long-term. He wants to win the All-Ireland. You know,
it felt like with Mickey, it felt like Derry were cashing in. It felt like they were like, we think we're good to go now. Let's just go all in and try. And it backfired spectacularly. But in terms of the championship, I mean, they still won the league, but like it backfired spectacularly in terms of what the ultimate goal was. And yeah, we'll just run through a couple more comments here. Modern Tornado says it heated up, though. I think that was about the Tyrone Mayo match from Sean O'Malley's comment, just one earlier. And Liam White, of course, friend of the pod, says, found myself watching the Liverpool game instead of Mayo Tyrone. So, I mean, that speaks to it. Then Patrick McDonough says, if we beat Armagh next weekend, Armagh could get relegated. As for Mayo, the performance wasn't that good, but at the end of it is all about winning. Certainly, I don't think Mayo will be too concerned, just as long as you get the result and you keep yourself up playing Division 1 football again. But back to the Donegal Armagh game, and back to this. We will just discuss this incident briefly because it's getting all the headlines. Michael Murphy comes in, runs straight over. He's greeted by the Armagh captain, Aidan Forker. Very friendly, very respectful handshake, and then they get on with the game. Now, we all know what happened. Murphy comes in, little scuffle, and then probably the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Like, I mean, you get sent off for, like, placing your head on Murphy's chest. And, like, you could see Murphy, I was laughing at him. Like, Murphy was like, what are you doing? And then he had to go over to the ref and get sent off, even though, realistically, that wouldn't have hurt Murphy at all. Still absolutely deserved to go. Absolute red card. But he didn't even achieve anything with the red card. It wasn't like he winded Murphy or anything. Like, he just basically volunteered for a red card.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we've had red cards down through the years where it was disgusting acts of violence and things that you shouldn't see in Gaelic games and things like that. This I would put along the lines of stupidity. I don't know what, like, genuinely. I was watching the TV today. As a neutral, obviously, I didn't have any preference to either Donegal or Armagh, and I was literally screaming at the screen when Ian Farker did that. What are you doing? Like, what's the positive in this? What's the advantage of this? Why do you just place the head on Michael Burr? I really don't know either. And the crazy thing, as you rightly mentioned there, Murphy didn't end up seriously injured afterwards. He was just like, man,
what are you doing? Yeah, like Murphy was just like, what the hell is going through your head? We have a couple of comments in here about it. Patrick McDonough says, Fork, I must think he is the Zidane in his head. A Modern Tornado says, early shower he wanted. I would question what on earth was going through his head, because you're the captain of Armagh. You won the All-Ireland as Armagh captain last year. Regardless of whether it's the league, whether it's the preseason competitions, you're in an Ulster derby against one of your biggest rivals. They bring in Michael Murphy. The captain is supposed to be the one who steadies the ship. All right, lads, Donegal have a big man coming in, but we're still ready to go. And he just gets sent off for, like, the stupidest reason. And I felt like Forker, the minute he did that, he knew, like, oh, I'm after messing up here big time now. I'm gone. And he deserved a red card, but, like, it was so dumb what he did. It was so dumb. And I think, like, yeah, he just needs to wash it off. Like, just take the abuse that he will get on Twitter and everything like that, and the slagging that he'll get. Because, like, Murphy immediately, like, Murphy himself was laughing at him as soon as that happened. And Murphy knew, like, you just got yourself sent off, bud. Congratulations. But yeah, stupid moment of the weekend, I think.
Exactly, and yeah, you hardly see that in sports, like in recent times anyway, in rugby and soccer. So you got your entertainment and Gaelic games,
stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it's brilliant. But yeah, the Zidane, the comparisons and things like that. But the difference is Zidane actually floored Materazzi in 06. This
Yeah.
was just like
I don't think
roughly.
Materazzi's as tough as Michael Murphy, though. I don't think.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah, but back to the game. So I think that's fairly open and showcased as well, just like the Flanagan incident that we discussed a couple of weeks ago. I mean, we've seen it clear as day. He deserved the red card, and he got it. Back on this game, Armagh. What would you make of them? Because they've had an interesting start. I mean, like they had a bad opener against Galway where they lost, and then they beat Tyrone very impressively. I know they've lost to Donegal, but they've lost to Donegal and Galway, who are the two teams that everybody is talking about and talking up, and they look the bee's knees. Would you be worried about them? Do you think they're potentially staring at relegation, or
possibly? Like it's going to be interesting to see who they actually have in the next few games. And according to Patrick's comment there, they actually have Mayo. So I think from an Armagh point of view, if they want to stay up at Division 1, that's probably a must win if they are to play Mayo next. Consider, Mayo got a good win today over Tyrone, but Mayo would have been probably the team that everybody would have wanted to face coming into this weekend. So I think that is a must win from an Armagh point of view. There's no doubt about that as well. I think they've Kerry away, but then again, you look at Kerry's home form, it's horrendous at the moment. So maybe that could be a win for them. We'll have to see about that. Like it's going to be very, very interesting to see if Armagh do survive. But I think if you want to set a precedent in defending the All Ireland, in defending it in a good way, at least you have to stay up in Division 1. And I remember Donegal actually went down in 2013, and that kind of set a precedent throughout the whole season. And then Donegal flattered to the seat in the championship. They got absolutely ambushed by Mayo in Croke Park that year in 2013. So I'm just looking at Armagh's fixtures here, their next 4 fixtures. So they have Mayo at home. That's even more of a must win now. At home to Mayo on the Athletic Grounds, you have to win that.
That's a comment in here from Modern Tornado. He says it'll be interesting next week with the game against Mayo, a relegation fight. I'd be interested, Modern Tornado 81. Who do you think is going to win that game and why? Matthew, back to the fixtures.
They have 3 home games out of their last 4 games, actually. They've Mayo at home, they've Dublin at home, and they've Derry at home in the last game. And Kerry away in Austin.
Absolute. That could be a bloodbath. But both of them needing the points to stay up, like I'd say that game will be fierce. Like you will need the points in that one. Yeah, it's one of those that if they mess up in the game against Mayo, for example, if they lose that one, they are very much on the chopping block. McDonough here says, call me biased, but we're going to beat Armagh. We always play good against All-Ireland champions. I mean, that is true. How many years in the championship have Mayo taken out the defending champions? I mean, it's happened pretty regularly. I think as well, if you're being honest with it, you have to look at with Armagh. Yes, they won the All-Ireland. They're still the team that got promoted in second place from Division 2. And I think before 2022, 2023, when Armagh were in Division 1, they were tipped to be relegated by a lot of people. They've won the All-Ireland. They're without Rian O'Neill, and it's such a competitive division that the gloss that having, the All-Ireland in your back pocket gives you, the league doesn't care about that. You are where you are in the table because of your results. Ireland Tornado, he's responding, he said, I think Mayo, the boost after today and seeing Forker gone will give Mayo confidence. It's a really, really good point. If Forker's suspended, Rian O'Neill's not there, it could be Mayo's to win. Matthew, early prediction for that one, given the significance?
It's a tough one to call, really, is considering Mayo got confidence this weekend. I'd probably still tip it to Armagh. It's still early in the week, but at home, I think Armagh, this is the game they have to target, especially in the next few games. Then, like the next 2 games after Mayo, they have Dublin and Kerry, so it's not going to get any easier after that. So, I think Mayo's probably a must.
Having a bit of brain rot. Is it in Armagh or is it in Mayo?
It's in Armagh.
Okay, then I would probably go for Armagh. Just being 100% honest, even though Mayo won, I wasn't 1,000,000% impressed with them. Like, I was still a little bit like the game wasn't of the highest caliber, and we'll get to that game in a little bit more depth later on. Patrick Cahill here says, Armagh were poor today, no doubt, but we're a much better team than that today. I agree with that. I will predict at least another 2 victories to stay up. Yeah, no, I'd be confident that Armagh will still find a way to stay up, but I think what I've seen as a Dublin fan is the year that we went down, how quickly it just you're gone. You lose one game that you should have won. All of a sudden, the whole perspective on the season changes. But thankfully for Dublin, we don't have to worry about that this season because we won one game that honestly I expected to lose. Dublin 19 points, Kerry 115. I was very nervous about this game going into it. It's a very, very difficult away trip down to Austin Stack Park in Tralee. And Kerry obliterated us in the first half. And I was looking at the halftime score being like, this is a long, long way back. But the lads in the second half were sensational. And again, players like Sean Bugler really coming to the fore. Dublin looked good. And this was a really, really impressive win away in Kerry.
Massive win. And even Larkin O'Dell coming on and getting two pointers into that win. That was brilliant from his point of view. Luke Brannock getting the winner as well. And see, the kids do show up, Seamus. The likes of Luke Brannock, the likes of Larkin O'Dell, like these guys are hungry for a Dublin jersey. And to get the win, I'll be honest with you, I didn't expect you to go down to Kerry and win the game. Not in a million years, especially at halftime, 112 to 3 points down. I didn't expect it, or 4 points, should I say. It wasn't likely at all. But what Dublin did in the second half, yes, they played with a wins granted. But to hold Kerry to 3 points in the second half while scoring, 15 points yourselves, like that is exceptional. It really is. And it would give this group of young Dublin players the confidence to drive on for the rest of the season. The likes of Larkin O'Dell and Luke Brannock, who I mentioned there as well. And even the likes of Ethan Dunn, who come into the panel, Peter Duffy maybe in the next few weeks as well. So, but the older lads really stepped up the experience lads. I don't know, is it inappropriate to call Sean Bugler experience, because like he's still one of the younger lads in the dominant Dublin generation, if you like, but because he was in that generation.
He's coming into his own now. He's coming into his own as a big impact on this current Dublin crop, because as I said, he's always the one that breaks the line. He's always the one that, you know, puts the head down and takes someone on and takes a shot on. And he was immense in the second half of this game. And the thing as a Dublin fan, which is making me calmer after this result, is what we saw is when we tried to pass the baton in 2021, 2022, the minute that it fell out of the hand of James McCarthy, of Paul Mannion, of Jack McCaffrey, of Stephen Cluxton, the minute they let go of it, it fell on the ground. And we had to beg them to come back and pick it up again. And the band came back together and we won an All-Ireland. And even though he looked unbelievable, you know, there was still the point of like, well, what happens when they go for good this time? You know, are the lads going to be ready to take the baton on this time? And a result like this does just give you confidence, even though Kerry weren't at 100%, like David Clifford didn't start. And how fit is he when he comes back in? Because surely if he's 100% fit, you'd play him. I mean, it's a league game against Dublin. It's not like you're hiding David Clifford from us. Like, we know he's your best player. We know he's going to be what everything goes through come championship. But yeah, it's a brilliant, brilliant win. It changes the outlook on the league, to be honest, because now if we can win the games at home that we should win, we're potentially looking at finishing in the top 3 of the league, potentially top 2. So I think a win like this is massive if we can win the home games. And yeah, I really, really think now that like Donegal's behind us, yes, we lost that one, but there's some winnable games coming for Dublin as well, and I'm looking forward to it. We got the comments coming in here, guys. Love to see it. Keep them coming. Jack Nulty, first of all, he says, hard to know where some teams are at. Can Donegal keep this up all year? I don't know what's going on in Kerry, whether it's sluggish start or something more. And he follows on with, I wouldn't be as hasty, but a lot of Kerry supporters not happy on their forum after Jack. Pressure on there. Matthew, I'll throw that one to you. Is there pressure on Jack O'Connor this season? I mean, obviously he came in first year, all went right. They won the All-Ireland in 2022. They won everything actually in 2022. 2023, they lost the final to Dublin. And last year they were poor. Like there's no other way to put it. They were poor. So this season, like he's still at the helm. Surely a serious push for an All-Ireland is the bare minimum.
It is the bare minimum any year in Kerry. And I think what disappointed the Kerry fans last night was, well, not so much losing to Dublin, because I think Dublin can always raise their game for Kerry. That's a given. But the fact they were ahead by so much at halftime, 112 to 4 points, that they just couldn't hold out that lead. For one reason or another. I'm not entirely sure how as well. Even the game, when you look at their league form so far, against Donegal, apparently they were afraid to shoot. That's what I was hearing. Against Derry, they needed the goals to get over the line in Celtic Park. And against Dublin, like, I don't know what happened in the last few minutes. It was just a capitulation, really, from a Kerry point of view. And I think it's kind of a year for Jack O'Connor where he has to win the All-Ireland. If he doesn't, he's out the door. Like Paddy Taddy's gone now. Cian O'Neill's come in. A lot of pressure on Cian O'Neill now as well. Obviously, after leaving the Galway post, he's gone to Kerry. A lot of pressure on him coming in the backroom team there. So yeah, there is. And you look at the next few games for Kerry now. 3 of their next 4 games in the league are away from home. And you made a very good point in my podcast during the week, actually, Seamus, about the home games. Brian Tyers, I think, made it actually on TGR, and you repeated it. That if you lose your home games, you're in serious danger. Kerry have now lost 2 home games, and they have 1 home game to go against Armagh. They're 3 away games. They have Tyrone next week in Omagh. That's a huge game for both sides. Whoever loses that is in major trouble of going down, even at this early stage of the league. Mayo away in McHale Park. Yes, Mayo might be struggling at times, but that is
going to be up for that as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it's on a Saturday evening. I don't think the Kerry players would be they won't be fancying going up to Mayo on a Saturday evening, no doubt about it. And then they've Galway away on the last game in Salthill. So
that might be a winnable one if Galway are already home and host into a league final, which I think they could be. Like I think if you're pushing me on it now, I think Kerry will survive. But it's crazy that we're even having this conversation, to be honest, with the talent that they have, that we're looking at them like as potential relegation candidates. It's like I think for Jack O'Connor, like he was brought back in because he had the pedigree of winning, and his first year he really, really justified it with the All-Ireland win. But as you said, he's never gone back to back in his career, and it was something that they were hoping he would be able to solve this time around. And losing that final to Dublin in 2023, it felt significant because it was like they failed to overthrow the past best team. You know what I mean? Like that reminded me a lot of, like, do you know, in boxing, when a boxer clears out a division, or a UFC fighter clears out a division, and then they vacate the belt and move up a division, and then they come back to face the new champion. That's what that felt like to me. It felt like, you know, that Dublin team had basically dissolved with Mannion and McCaffrey and Conor O'Callaghan and Stephen Cluxton all not being around in 2022. Dublin lost to Kerry in the semi-final. And then they all come back together. So that game felt like almost a title unification or something like. And for Dublin to shade it was very, very close. But for Dublin to shade it, it felt like Dublin had kind of proved their point that they were the best again. And that felt significant at the time. And last season, Kerry just never looked at the level that they looked at in 2022. In 2022, they were the best team in the country. No question about it. The defence was magnificent. Clifford's form, O'Shea's form, they were terrifying up front. And O'Connor really needs to recapture that. I think failure to win an All-Ireland, and I'd be stunned if he's still in the job next season, because when you look at other managers and the work that they're doing, like, I would be surprised, to be honest. Sean O'Malley says here, Tyrone might have to start looking over the shoulder. I agree with Seamus. Mayo weren't nothing to shout about. Yeah, we'll come to that game next up. Patrick McDonough follows on here. I said, I know it's only league, but that's an embarrassing loss for Kerry. I think it's embarrassing considering how far ahead they were at halftime. Yeah, I agree with that. Then agree with Matt there. Patrick as well says, I love the 2 pointers in the Kerry versus Dublin game. Yeah, some of them were gorgeous and definitely closed the gap quickly for Dublin. Then Saturday is at 3 against Mayo. This is the Kerry game, I'm assuming. Then Jack says something's not right down there. And then Patrick says, I fancy our chances in our next 2 games because it's the perfect games for Mayo. And Jack Nolan says stale, and think partly comes from the manager and having forwards to do well, but still not playing the right style. Yeah, I feel like for Kerry, look, they have all the minerals there to go and win the All-Ireland. And I think maybe try not be a little bit too hasty about these results. They've had a couple of bad defeats, but I certainly wouldn't write them off in terms of an All-Ireland. But the way it's going for me, I don't think they win it this year. And I really don't. I would be looking right now. Obviously, I'm scared to say it because I said last year it's going to come from Derry, Dublin or Kerry, and it definitely didn't. But I think I'd be looking maybe right now, Donegal and Galway look good to me. And Dublin are kind of like a dark horses, I'd say. And then the rest are all very capable. Armagh definitely could retain their All-Ireland, but for some reason, I just feel like once you break a long duck, you tend to miss the next one. Like Dublin broke 16 years in 2011, and then we're all over the place in 2012. Limerick won it in 2018 in the hurling, and then they lost in the semi-final in 2019. Like, there's plenty of examples of teams that when they break a long duck, it's very hard then to go back to back to back, like, because you climb the mountain, so to speak, if you know what I mean. But anyway, we'll move on from that game. Dublin with a massive win there in Austin Stack Park, and Mayo picking up a huge win in McHale Park. Home comforts were important, and Mayo got over the line here by 12 points to 10 against Tyrone. This game, as was stated earlier in the comments by Liam White, said he was tempted to switch to the Liverpool game. It wasn't the best game of the weekend, but it was, I thought, entertaining. It was entertaining in a sense that it was more of an arm wrestle of a game, and Mayo found the key scores and just proved a little bit more gritty and a little bit more determined. Michael McKernan's second yellow going down the home stretch obviously helped their cause as well, but it's a big win for Mayo. They really needed that one. I predicted the bounce back, and it came.
Yeah, a fair play to you for that, Seamus. And yeah, I just feel like this was. I didn't watch most of this game because I was doing a bit of scorekeeping for the Cavan and Low game in Division 2. So I actually didn't watch this game until the last few minutes, but I was shocked to see it, as the scores went through. After half an hour, it was 3 points apiece. I was like, is this a typo with the new rules? Because, like, you have some excellent kickers of the ball there in both sides with Mayo and Tyrone. And to produce that in half an hour, not great. And obviously Jordan Flynn gets the only 2-pointer, which actually turned out to be the winning of the game. Yeah. So that's what it is. And Tyrone, like, it's hard to know with them now. Will they get the bite back once the Eric Kieran lads come back? It's hard to know, really. They've 4 lads to come in there, the Goose, Hart, and obviously the 2 Ganavans there. You probably, from a Tyrone point of view, you'd be hoping they come sooner rather than later, because you could be in a situation if they lose to Kerry next week, then things could look ropey. So I think they need to come back in sooner rather than later for them. For Mayo, I think it was a big boost, not just the win, but Aidan O'Shea coming back in from his honeymoon. I think that was massive from a Mayo point of view. And he adds a bit of experience to this probably struggling Mayo team. I know they won today, but they were struggling the first 2 games. So for Aidan to come back in and help his team to victory in today's game was good from their point of view as well. Fergal Bowden performed well. I thought Frank Goran was superb, one of the superb people on the field, to be fair. But yeah, it was a good win for Mayo. Grind it out. Sometimes you're in that situation where you're in a lull. You need to get just a win to kickstart your season. And this could possibly be the changing of the guard for 2025 for Mayo. Possibly. We'll see next week against Armagh how they turn up. But today, it was just a good win. Get 2 points on the board and move on. But Seamus, overall, with the new rules, this wasn't a one that you'd show in the highlights reel, really, no doubt about it.
Yeah, look, it wasn't. Look, it was one of those games that, as I said, you just need to pick up the 2 points and move on. It wasn't a game that you'd write home about, but definitely was important. And we have a couple of comments in here. Modern Tornado, he says Flynn back helped as well. Yeah, I really noticed when he came on just the impact that Jordan Flynn has on this Mayo team now. Like the way he just grabbed the ball right from the start of the second half and booted it over, like for the 2-pointer. Then Ryan off for the first half hindered Mayo as well. This is O'Donoghue, of course. And then Patrick McDonough says, I actually felt we managed the game well at the end. It definitely, Mayo were kicking on for home, I think, more than Tyrone. And I think, like, Mayo missed a couple of chances. Like Conor Reid's chance was one that stuck out to me, where he kicked it with the left and it just didn't draw in. I was thinking, they're missing chances, but I still felt like Mayo were going to win. And then Sean O'Malley here says, Mayo really lacked long-range shooters, which could find them out with the new rules, but hopefully getting forwards like James Carr and Tommy Conroy back could help with that. And then Patrick says, I hope the players take confidence. Yeah, look, Mayo definitely, they're a confidence team. And there's no question about it. Once Mayo get their tails up, I've seen it as a Dublin fan playing against them over the years. Like once Mayo get on the roll, they're a very hard team to stop. And this win is just maybe will tip them into the wheel starting to go, and now maybe I will roll and roll, and then they could become a problem for anyone. So this win could prove really, really important. But as you said, it wasn't the best game ever, but it will be very, very important, especially going down the home stretch, as will this draw. Derry drawing with Galway here at Celtic Park by 16 points to 113. Again, they didn't get the win, but that game had, especially going down the home stretch, I was convinced Galway were going to squeeze out the win. And Derry found that equaliser right at the death. And just how important is that for them to do that?
I think from a confidence booster, just to get a point on the board, I think it is vital for Derry. To be fair, like Shane McGuigan and Lachlan Murray really drove them on last night, and they deserve something for their efforts to get something out of this game. Yes, Galway started well with the Dylan McHugh goal. Shane Walsh was hitting points from left, right, and everywhere. But Derry showed guts to get back into the game, and we spoke about that after match day 2 when they were agonisingly defeated by Kerry. They showed a lot of guts then. Now can you back it up? They did. And it was a brilliant result more than anything for Derry. I wouldn't say it was a polished performance. They still have a lot to work on. And when you look at the next 4 games that Derry have, 3 of them are away. So it's going to be very, very difficult for them to stay up. And the away games that they do have are Dublin, Donegal and Armagh. So that is there's 3 difficult places to go from a Derry point of view. They have Mayo at home. You'd have to imagine that has to be a must win for Derry if they have any chance of staying up. But yeah, it was a good start for them to just get a point on the board, just get a bit of confidence going, a bit like Mayo today. I know Mayo won and Derry drew, and maybe that's 2 different sorts of results there. But they didn't lose the game. They got something out of it. And I think that's something that to move on with and take it on to the next game. As for Galway, look, that will show they still have things to improve on if they want to go on and win the All-Ireland this year. Yes, Walsh is kicking them over from everywhere this year, and he seems to be grasping the new rules really well. But there were some aspects of Galway's play that you would be concerned about, maybe just not holding lead enough in the last few minutes, being one of them, obviously the big one. So I think Galway have a lot to work on, and that is maybe a positive for Power Drive because they're on 5 points. There's no danger of them going down. Getting to a league final, I don't think it's the be-all and end-all for Galway personally. I think the be-all and end-all for them is to go on an All-Ireland run and potentially win the Samagora Cup. That's the be-all and end-all for Galway, not a league final. So I think they'll be largely positive about it because they still have stuff to work on, whereas Donegal are perceived as a perfect team at the moment, which they are, 6 points on the board. But Galway, they still have stuff to improve on. I think that might be a positive for Power Joyce moving on down the line.
Yeah, no, it will be, especially like if you've got 5 points on the board and you've got plenty to work on, then you're in a good spot because you can continue improving and you're already clearly at a pretty high level. Myron Tornado says very, as in how important was this draw for Derry. So he said Mayo are/were eyeing Derry as a must win, but now not too sure. Then Patrick McDonough says, I think Derry had to win that game. If they lose next week, I think they're down. I think especially with who Derry have left to play, I feel like, they still have to play against Dublin. They still have to play against Donegal. Like, they're going to be very, very difficult games to get anything out of. Liam White here says Galway, Donegal next week could be very interesting to see where both sides are in terms of All-Ireland contenders. I think everybody will be tuning into that game next weekend. Sean O'Malley here says Derry, despite results, seem to be coping well with the new rules. They have players that can score points from anywhere over the halfway line. Could be a dark horse. Like, Derry, just in general, man, like, where do you see Derry at? Because, like, I was watching them and there was one play where I think Glass, Rogers, McGuigan all had the ball. And I remember being like, they're 3 of the best players in the country. They'd start for any team in any era. I don't care saying that. They start for any team in any era. They're unbelievable footballers, the 3 of them. They make up, the 3 best players in that Derry team. But then they also have your Garrett McKinless, Conor Doherty, Paul Cassidy, Ethan Doherty. Like, all around these lads. Where do you see them at? Are they All-Ireland contenders? Because everybody said that they were. Do you know what it reminds me of a lot? It reminds me a lot, and maybe I'll be harsh here, but this is just kind of how I felt looking at it at the time. Do you remember 2022 when everyone tipped Waterford to be Limerick's direct competitors for both the Munster and All-Ireland Championships when they won the league? Everyone said Waterford are definitely going head-to-head with Limerick. And I remember Limerick won in the Munster Championship, and they were saying on the Sunday game, round 1 goes to Limerick. Because everyone thought it's going to be Limerick and Waterford in the Munster final and the All-Ireland final too. And then they had that crash out year where they went out in the Munster Championship completely unexpectedly. And then 2023 came around, and it was like everybody all of a sudden thought that they were shite. Like everybody was tipping them to finish last in the Munster table. Is that more or less exactly what's happened with Derry? Everybody tipped Derry to be direct All-Ireland contenders last season. They crashed out, had a bad year, and now everybody's tipping them to get relegated and to get nowhere near the All-Ireland when they've only lost Christy McCaig from last year's team.
That's true, yeah. And the Waterford comparison, I think, is nearly a fair one to be here. Well, the nature of the hurling championship and the football championship is a bit different, because you look at the Munster championship in hurling, you still have Clare, Cork, Tipperary, and 2 teams, as well as Limerick, obviously, and 2 of those teams are gone straight away in the first round. So there's a lot of competitive nature there, whereas Derry have a second chance in the All-Ireland. So there's still a potential there for them to reach a quarter-final or a semi-final and things like that. But in terms of winning an All-Ireland, I think, honestly, James, I think the boat has sailed. I think the time to win the All-Ireland was last year for this Derry team. They didn't do it. With the likes of Chris McCaig in the backline there, he added a bit of reassurance, a bit of experience in the backline. Yes, they do have some brilliant players. That the play Brendan Rodgers' centre-back role this year is a positive, and playing Anton Toll around the middle of the field is good for Derry. It is good because they are getting new players in, and McGuigan is still proving his form, scoring 8 points. Murray has proved his worth as well. I just feel like with the debacle with the manager in the off-season, with Paddy Talley coming in, let's be honest here, an underwhelming appointment. I think that is
definitely wasn't their first choice.
Yeah. So underwhelming, really.
Yeah.
What do you think? Yeah. So I just feel like the boat has sailed. I think an All-Ireland has passed them by. That might be harsh for me to say this, but like under their 3 previous managers before Paddy Talley, they all had capabilities to win, including Kieran Meena. Let's not forget, Kieran Meena drove them very close to carrying the All-Ireland semi-final. All have potential to go on and win the All-Ireland with this Derry team. I don't think Paddy Talley has the same aura with them. Just my honest opinion, I just don't think he does. So I think the boat has sailed, unfortunately, for Derry.
Yeah, I'd be interested. Personally, I probably wouldn't put them in my top 3 in terms of likely to win the All-Ireland. I think right now, right in this moment, in no particular order, I think Galway, Donegal, Dublin. For me, I think if it would probably come from one of those. I don't know. I just see Armagh doing what Dublin did basically in 2012, as in you break the duck and you've won after, so long that you almost get a bit excited and kind of fall off the wagon a bit. Tyrone did it in 2004 when they won it in 2003, and they did it in 2006 when they won in 2005. It's very, very hard to go back to back. And I understand, obviously, there was very, very big external circumstances for Tyrone in 2004, so that probably wasn't the best example. But even Cork in 2011, they won it in 2010 after 20 years of not winning it, and then they fell off at the quarterfinal stage to Mayo. Like it's very common for when Donegal 2012 they won it in 2013, and then when they were in 2013 they were useless. They completely ran out of steam. So I personally would be surprised if they go back to back. I think teams usually only do 2, 3, 4 in a row if they've won one already. In the couple of years previous, you look at like Kilkenny, for example, winning it in 2003, and then they come back and start winning again in 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009. Dublin won it in 2011, came back, won it in 2013, and then they went on their 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 run. It tends to go a little bit like that. Limerick in the hurling, last example, 18, lost it in 19, won it back in 20, 21, 22, 23. So I feel like that's kind of how they tend to go. We've a couple more comments in here. Love to see it, lads. Sean O'Malley says Derry, despite results, seem to be up with the new rules. They have players that can score points from anywhere over the halfway line. Could be a dark horse. I already read that one. Oran McNichol says Derry missing 4 or 5 players too. Sean says here, in terms of structure, they're different, but the Ulster Championship is just as cutthroat as Munster hurling. I would agree with that. Oran McNichol says McGrogan was a massive loss last year and only returned yesterday. Yeah, I mean, like, he's a quality player as well. Him returning, no doubt, will make a big difference. Now, looking at the time, we've taken up a big chunk of the time talking about Division 1, so we're going to move a little bit quicker through the divisions. So, Alliance Football League, Division 2, Round 3, and we're going to talk about the 4 games here. Actually, we'll talk about 3, and then I'll come to your native counties, Cork against Westmeath. So Roscommon 24 points, Monaghan 214, and Dr. Hyde Park, in my opinion, the most significant result from the division over the weekend. Down 118, Meath 24 points. Big win for Meath there at Port Esler. Cavan 315, Louth 18 points at Breffni Park, in my opinion. Bit of a knockout blow for any potential promotion hopes that the wee county has. What is your take on those 3 results?
You're giving up the ghost on Louth already? Just
feel like if they lose a game like that.
Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much set in stone then. But yeah, I just feel like Louth. I only won in the first game, and we're very close against Roscommon. But I feel like with Joe Brennan complaining about the new rules, they've only one player that scored 10 points or above in 3 games. That's Sam Mulroy. I feel like they've not adjusted to the new rules now, which I thought would happen. I genuinely thought it would happen. Louth were used to defensive style football, playing 14, 15 men behind the ball, and once they can't do that, they kind of get found out. Like, Cavan scored 3 goals. They scored 2 goals inside a minute today, which effectively put the tie to bed through Gareth McKiernan and Conor Madden. So yeah, big win for Cavan. Just on a side note, brilliant win for them. 2 points on the board now. It would boost their survival hopes. 4-4 now. That's a brilliant win for them, no doubt about it. And that should give them the confidence to kick on and maybe avoid relegation. We'll have to see in the next few weeks. As for Monaghan and Roscommon, I watched a bit of it to defer coverage of Dichi Carr, and Monaghan got a very lucky first goal, a quality second goal from Micheál Bannigan, but Roscommon really pushed on. Dermot Murtagh got 12 points in this game. Jody Smith performed well as well. So yeah, Roscommon march on, and it looks like Roscommon will probably go up. Monaghan are now facing into a huge game next week against Cork and Inniskeen. It's a massive game for both sides. Both sides are on 4 points, so I'm sure we'll discuss it in just a bit. And as for the Meath and Down game, big win for Meath. Massive. Like, we've talked about Meath not having a backbone and things like that. That's a huge win to get in Park Esler. It's a massive, confidence booster to get. And I don't think Matthew Costello was playing this game either. Jordan Morris got a good load of points in this game. Owen Frayne did well as well. Kieran Caulfield, after captaining DCU on Wednesday night, scores a point in this game and really does well. So tells you all you need to know about his temperament in the Meath team. And they seem to be going along well with Robbie Brennan. Even the game they lost against Cork, they were very impressive that night in Páirc Uí Chaoimh as well. So I think Meath football is going on very, very nicely. And they've Roscommon next week. Who knows? Like, if they could nick something out of that game, they have a serious chance of going up. But overall, I think Meath fans would be very, very positive about how the season is going at the moment. And this could only be a good thing for the new manager.
I completely agree. I think it feels a little bit more strong than the Tailteann Cup win. Because I remember when they won the Tailteann Cup, everyone was saying, "Oh, like, Meath on the rise" and everything like that. I'm like, I still felt like if there was a team in the Tailteann Cup that season like a Clare, I still think Clare would have beaten Meath in that Tailteann Cup final that year. It's just my personal opinion, having seen how poor Meath were in the league that year and in the Leinster Championship. They got beaten out the gate by Offaly that season. Do you remember Offaly were 111 to 2 points up on them at one stage? Like, they weren't great that season. I feel like they're definitely making strides under Robbie Brennan. Jer Gregan, a good friend of the pod and obviously a regular guest on, he says, "How did you manage to mention the Limerick hurling villains on a football week?" I have my ways, Jer. Then he says, "I stand by my start of the year prediction that Monaghan will be promoted." And also a very good point here, saying Leinster needed Louth to be in the promotion mix. I agree with that, but I also think Meath being in the promotion mix, you could argue, is just as important, if not more important, given Meath's history and their heritage and, their All-Irelands that they won and the rivalry that they have with Dublin. If Meath can get back to the top table, Leinster Championship games will feel massive again. Like genuinely, that rivalry has such history and heritage and such nostalgia for so many Dublin fans. Like I know that Meath would definitely be the same, but like when I talk to old school Dublin fans, there's nothing more that they love than a good Dublin Meath game in the 90s where, let's be honest, you got a football match and a boxing match in the one. Like Mick Lyons, Mark and Vinnie Murphy and the battle.
But nowadays, Seamus, you get Meath players coming onto the pitch and shaking hands with the Dublin defenders.
Yeah, asking for the jersey at the end of the game. And but no, honestly, I genuinely think Robbie Brennan is a winner. Like the way he was handling Kilmacud Crokes, the way he brought them the success that they had, and the way he got the best out of the stars that they had. It got players like Paul Mannion and Shane Walsh to like do their bit for the team and everything like that. He's a brilliant coach. And they've had 3 games and 3 very, very good performances. So yeah, I'm very positive about Meath. Sean O'Malley here is the same. He says, good to see Meath with some stability. It's felt like they've had a culture that's expected failure for a while. I would agree. Like, I mean, I genuinely watched Meath last year against Dublin in the Leinster Championship. They came up to get their ass whooped and go on. Like, there was never a hint that Meath thought that they were going to win that game. And that was very depressing, to be honest, because I was like, this used to be a great rivalry. And it just isn't that right now. But hopefully, over the next few years, it can become that again. And Cork also going in the right direction, but they were made to work for it here in this one. Cork 318, Westmeath 317 at Porky Creve. More importantly, Matthew, you met Jason Keelan in the flesh. Obviously, Love for Bread GA pod, big shout out to him. Jason is an absolute gentleman. But I'd say both of you enjoyed what was a really, really entertaining game.
It was, and usually Cork and Westmeath do provide entertaining games. I think under the old rules, this game actually had a scoreline of 322 to 25 points in a relegation playoff in Division 2. So these two sides produce good football. So it was great to see another good style of Gaelic football in this one. And I think the difference maker in this one was Chris O'Jones. 5 goals in the league campaign now, 3 goals and 4 points in this game overall, 5 goals and 8 points from play in Division 2 this year. And a stat for you actually, Chris O'Jones, the only teams in the top 2 divisions to have more goals than Chris O, because obviously he's own County Cork, Kerry and Monaghan. All other teams have less goals than Chris O in this campaign so far. It's and he is a goal getter. Like, he is the key player for us, the key forward for us. Like, he's a massive player to get on form at the moment. And yeah, it was a good win for, well, I think some aspects of the performance would have probably disappointed Clear. I was talking to John Clear in the post-match interview afterwards in the media area, and he was saying that he was disappointed with the one-on-ones the Cork had, defending maybe not so great for some of the Westmeath goals. But I will take a positive here. This is a sort of game that Cork would have lost last year when they lost to Cavan, remember, and when they lost to Louth. They won this game without playing particularly well. I think there was a lot of stuff to improve on. Kickouts actually improved. I think shooting, yes, they had 35 shots, but like, it was very low percentage-wise from Cork point of view. I think it was 51%, which is low enough to be fair. But to be fair, look, a win's a win. It was a good win to get on the board. And I see it this way for next week. I know Jura is saying Monaghan are sure to be promotion contenders. Monaghan next week now, both sides are on 4 points. I get the game's on it in a scheme, but if Cork can nick something out of that game, we're right in it. I think we're in it now, which is a great sign. We're going to the Monaghan game next week, not looking over our shoulder. We're looking forwards, which is always a good sign. We've 2 wins on the board now. Good sign for the players, good sign for Cleary. Brian Hurley came back last night, so did Ian Maguire and Rory Dean. Conor Callan might come back. I was talking to Cleary about this as well. He was saying he wasn't match sharp, which was the reason why he didn't play. Hopefully he will get a run next week. But look, it's positive for Cork at the moment. I know it was a poor performance, but we got the win. We're going to Monaghan next week on a level playing field with them. If we nick something out of that game, there's always a chance of promotion.
It certainly is, and like, it's been a very, very solid stand. The other thing as well is that the result against Down, like, it was still a good performance by Cork, which is definitely something. Just like how when Meath lost to Cork, you could still take that it was a good performance. The Cork one was exactly the same. Jer says, it didn't say that they were sure. It's far from certain, but it's my prediction. The game against Cork is huge, but I predict Monaghan to edge it. I think whoever wins that game is probably the next one up. Like, genuinely, like, Meath, I think, could still be a dark horse to to race in and steal it. Louth, I'm not fully writing them off yet, but I'm just not that confident after seeing the Cavan result. And kind of as you said, their struggle to fully adapt the way that other teams have. Like, you're looking at Cork, most of Cork's scorelines, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like from watching, most of Cork's scorelines weren't astronomically high last season. Yet every scoreline this season Cork have had has been in the high teens, early 20s points.
I think attacking wise, Seamus, we've done really, really well with the new rules. We've scored 7 goals in this league campaign, and we've got a few
has stayed the same, but they've just gone up. The scores.
We've upped our goals, we've upped our points. We've done well at shooting at some stages as well. I just feel like defensively there are some aspects where on one-on-ones we're poor enough, and Monaghan have scored 2 goals in every game so far this year. If we can limit their chances, but then again, Westmeath had 5 goal chances last night. We can't allow that against Monaghan next week if we are to win that game. So, so I'm sure Cleary does know that, but like defensively, there is room to improve from a Cork point of view. But attacking wise and midfield wise, even for last night, for once, I think it was positive, and there's players coming back now, which is a good sign.
Certainly. We'll move then to the Alliance Football League Division 3's round 3. I think this one for me is the most significant in the division. Clare 117, Fermanagh 115 at Cusack Park in Ennis. Jer, if you're still watching, I'd love to get your take on this game. Obviously, as a proud Clare man, Liam White as well. If you're watching still, Offaly 419, Antrim 15 points. I'd love to get your take on what this game was. Offaly with a big win there. You know, Conor Park, Tullamore, obviously Mickey Hart, Declan Kelly. It seems to be working very, very well. Can't say the same about Sligo, losing by 7 points in O'Moore Park to Laois. Laois 23 points, Sligo 16 points. And then Leitrim getting beaten out the gate here. 127 to 7 points they lose at home against Kildare. Kildare seem to be flying though, which is the one caveat, but that's a bad result for Leitrim. But yeah, those 4 results, what's your kind of takeaways from that?
Big result for Clare to get the win, because there were some stages of that game where they were actually losing at home to Fermanagh, and to grind out a win like that was a good sign from a Clare point of view to get over the line there. Offaly, what form they're on. 3 wins out of 3 now. They battered Antrim today. And Keith O'Neill got 2-2, another 2-2 with his collection. Shane Tierney got 1-2, and Killian Burke got the other goal. Like, it was a brilliant performance from an Offaly point of view. And Mickey is working his magic there. There's no doubt about it. And Offaly seem to be on an upward trajectory. Sligo have been the most disappointing team in the league this year. I don't care what anybody else says. They have been extremely poor. 3 defeats now. I'd love to get Sligo's fans and opinions on this. Yeah, exactly. Like a lot of expectation about this, because like last year they were beaten through a last-minute goal by Rob Finnerty against Galway, if you remember that, with the Cole Palmer celebration. In the Taunton Cup in the semi-final, they took down all the way to extra time. What has happened this year? And you look at underage as well. They seem to be going along very, very nicely.
The likes of Luke Ireland, Galera reaching the Connacht, winning Connacht.
Summerhill doing well in the schools. Yeah. And it just hasn't clicked this season. I don't know what has gone on in Sligo at the moment. Like, Laois, yes, fair play to them. Mark Barry got 10 points today, but at Laois are a decent side. But to concede 23 points against them and to lose by 7 points to them, it's not good. It really isn't. And there's a lot to be concerned about from Sligo football point of view at the moment. I'd love to hear Sligo fans' point of view about this. What has gone wrong? I'm struggling to fathom what has.
Because now they're looking over their shoulder more now.
Yeah.
Like they need to beat Antrim and they need to beat Leitrim. If they lose either of those games, I don't think they'll lose to Leitrim. I think Leitrim seem to be all over the place, but Antrim could be dangerous.
It could be, yeah. And as for Leitrim, like it's not a good place to be, is it, from a Leitrim point of view? I just feel it's almost like you feel really, really sorry for these group of Leitrim players at the moment. Getting beating after beating after beating in Division 3, and it's just not. It looked like today Leitrim weren't up to the Division 3 standard, and Kildare are just way higher to Division 3. That's what it looked like today. Kildare preferred.
That looked like a Division 2 against a Division 4 team.
Yeah. Oh, it did, yeah. And as for Kildare, look, I think they'd be obviously not happy being in Division 3 in the first place, but to batter teams like they have done, I think that would please Brian Flanagan. the fact that they've shown they've stamped their authority on Division 3, and they've shown they are the best of the business in this division, and they are going up without much fuss, really. And look, it's just on back of Sligo, they've Antrim away on the second last game.
Mm-hmm.
So Corrigan Park, it's not a
That's
pretty place to go.
dangerous, like, especially away from home.
I think actually the next game, actually Clare at home for them in match day 4 next week. That's a crucial game for them. That's their only home game, but the last home game against Leitrim.
Yeah, so definitely so. And obviously Clare are fresh off the back of that good win over Fermanagh. Jer says here on the new rules, the dynamic of having a 2-point win in the dying seconds is so different. You can't just protect the goal. Yes, you have to protect the arc as well. Sean O'Malley says, what's happened to Sligo coming into this year with a lot of expectation? Obviously, that was the question that I read to you. Then Jer says here, great result for Clare. Emma McMahon and Cleary well suited to the 2-pointers. And then Sean has a couple of comments here. He said, we should have won the Tailteann Cup if we didn't go down to 14. And then also there's 2 teams that are worse than us. Sligo, surely. I would be confident in that. I still think Sligo will do enough to save themselves. But the point is that they're in this situation. They're in this situation where all of a sudden they have to save themselves. And, you would have been thinking that they're going to look the other way. You would have been thinking that they're going to be pushing for promotion. Not in this situation, but definitely give a big shout out to Offaly as well. The work that's being done there, Mickey Hart teaming up with Declan Kelly, it seems to be following quite a similar pattern to what happened when he came in with Louth, that it looks like they could definitely get promoted. Like, it definitely looks like they're in the mix. I think a game against Clare would be really, really interesting to see who comes out the right side of that one. I think that would tell all as to who goes up alongside Kildare, obviously. And then rounding this off, we have here the Division 4 round 3. So some big games here, none more so than this one in my opinion. Wicklow beating Longford 215 to 12 points in Ockram. Limerick got a win away in Royslip, which is always a tricky venue, 116 to 11 points. Wexford continue their winning ways, beating Carlow 212 to 9 points. And Tipperary went away to Fraherfield and beat Waterford by 114 to 9 points. So my takeaway from this round of Division 4 is absolutely Wexford are going up. Wicklow have put themselves back in the mix, but I would still probably fancy Limerick to pip them. What do you think?
Yeah, Wexford looking serious fettle to go up, and fair play to John Haggerty for doing a good job with Wexford as well. I think Limerick, yes, they've got the first win on the board, and they had to win really against London to keep their promotion hopes alive, and they did. So Andrew Mead getting the goal for them. Wicklow, big win for them against Longford. Chris O'Brien did well there with 1-2, and so did Joe Prendergast, who got the other goal for them. I think Tipperary are peeping in the long grass though. That was a good win against Waterford today, and that's 2 wins out of a possible 3. They have 5 points on the board now out of a possible 6. They do have players there like Sean O'Connor, who got 110 today, as well as Mark Russell, who's well capable of taking 2-pointers. I think Tipperary under Philly Ryan, they're doing pretty well this year, to be fair, and they're giving Tipperary football the boost that it needs. Yes, they played the likes of Carlow, Waterford, and Longford, who, well, to be fair, Longford would have been considered a top 14, but the other 2 maybe not so. But that's a boost for Tipperary football, I think, just to get within the promotion conversation. So I think that is a positive for Tipperary to take forward too.
Certainly, no, it's definitely like those games are the ones that you just need to win. You need to win the games that are expected of you, or your level just drops and then you're stuck in the mud there. And that's the one thing which has happened with Tip is you look back a few seasons ago, like they were up in Division 2, like they were beating teams like Cork away from home and everything. Like they were really, really solid. They had Michael Quinlivan, Connor Sweeney, like midfield is Stephen O'Brien, Liam Casey, Peter Atchison in there, Robbie Kiley. Like they won
the Division 3 title as well.
Yeah, literally they were solid, like, and the way that they've just fallen like a stone, and now it's like they're stuck in the mud in Division 4. So these type of wins are crucial to just breathe oxygen back into it. Jay says, I had Tipperary as the lowest ranked football team in the league, even after Waterford and London at the start of the league, and now they're in the promotion hunt. That's what the league does. It tends to make you look like a bit of an idiot, because it definitely has done that to me, I think, in saying that Louth to get promoted. I don't think that's going to happen now. I think for you as well, Sligo, I don't think are going to get promoted either. I'm going to give a shout out to the other results which took place across the weekend. Now in the wrap up, there were 2 games in the Alliance Hurling Leagues Division 1B. Laois had a good win away at Cusack Park and Mullingar, beating Westmeath by 418 to 119. Very eye-catching result there. And in Division 3, Mayo beat Cavan by 123 to 214 in Turin. And then there was 1 Division 3 and 4 Division 4 games in the little LGFA leagues. Laois beat Carlow 318 to 4-6 and Ananua, and that's in Division 3. And in Division 4, then Derry and Sligo, it finished 1-4 to Derry, 11 points to Sligo in Owenbeg. Antrim beat Longford easily 410 to 1-8 in the Antrim GA Centre of Excellence. Leitrim battered Kilkenny 619 to 2 points in Kiltubrid. And Fermanagh beat Wicklow 310 to 2-9 in St. Patrick's GA, and that was in Wicklow. And just before we wrap up, because the games did take place, it's not quite the Allianz Leagues, but I did want to give a big shout out to both DCU and the University of Limerick for their Sigerson and Fitzgibbon Cup victories. So just your quick, brief thoughts, because we have passed the hour mark, and I'd like to try and keep these episodes to an hour as best I can. DCU Sigerson Cup champions for the 6th time. They were the underdogs, but beating a UCD side that had stars throughout the team like Dara Craig, like Ben O'Carroll, and they managed to get the win. And then the Fitzgibbon Cup, UL, are UL the best team that the Fitzgibbon Cup has seen, or is that a crazy statement? But I mean, Gerard O'Connor, Adam English, like just absolute Rolls Royce hurlers. And unfortunately, because I'm obviously a DCU alumni, too strong for us, and worthy Fitzgibbon champions. And congratulations to both colleges on sensational achievements.
Yeah, fantastic for DCU in particular to win the Sigerson Cup, because a lot of people wouldn't have expected them to do so, and they breeded new players into the intercounty scene. The likes of Ethan Dunn, for example, and Greg McEnany, who I'm sure will do well for Dublin in the next few years. Tom Pryor did well for DCU as well from Leitrim, and he had a few other players as well. So it was a brilliant win for DCU to get under their belts, and congratulations to everybody involved there. As for UL, yeah, I'm repping the UL top at the moment. I don't know, could you see University of Limerick here? So yeah, that was just coincidental, really. But yeah, look, this UL team is absolutely superb. Garrett O'Connor, as you mentioned, Jack Leahy from Cork as well, from Dungorney, brilliant foot hurler. Adam English, Aidan O'Connor, Colin Coughlin in that team as well. Like, they have some superb players, and Sean Rinn as well. Like, there are some brilliant players in UL up and down the pitch.
A couple of years ago, man. I remember the team a couple of years ago had Michael Kiley, Brian McGrath. Like, I remember being like, what the, like, it was as good as an inter-county team. Genuinely, like, you see that thrown around as a cliche, but I remember they had at least 8 inter-county starters for the Munster teams in there.
Yeah, exactly. And like, you look at even their scores and stuff like that. Like, Garrett O'Connor probably starts for Tipperary. Aidan O'Connor now starts for Limerick in the league. Mm-hmm. Adam English starts for Limerick. Patrick Crotty has started a few games for Clare. Like, you look at Colin Coughlin as the captain, he starts a few games for Limerick. Sean Rinn starts a few games for Clare. Patrick O'Donovan, the new lad coming on the block for Limerick. Killian Doyle now starts games for Kilkenny. Mark Fitzgerald starts games for Waterford. Like, it's just all over the pitch. And the standard set in UL hurling is absolutely brilliant at the moment. I don't know, or just University of Limerick just lucky to get these all hurlers and play them on one team, or what is it? But it's brilliant in a sense. And worth noting as well, Adam Screeney would have played in this competition, but for injury as well. Imagine UL with Adam Screeney. So look, it's a brilliant win for UL. Third win in 4 years as well. So they must be doing something right with these UL players. And I think you mentioned a point with related to Parnells and Kilmacoe Crooks and Dublin Championship. There's no point in having all these stars if you don't mass them into a winning side. It was the situation with Parnells, unfortunately, and it's probably the situation with the UCD in football right now. But with UL and hurling, they're in together. They gel as a group, and they've got 3 Sigerson Cups or Fitzgibbon Cups in 4 years. That doesn't happen by accident. So fair play to them.
Certainly, well said. We have a last couple of comments in here. Where here we have Jer saying Westmeath beat Wexford in the championship 2 years ago. On current form, they would be at risk of going to the Christie Ring. They were pretty much at risk of going to the Christie Ring last season as well. And Jack Nutty responds to that saying, which is a shame. It does no good for Westmeath going to Division 3 hurling. Hope they get it together for the McDonagh. They need all their best players in. Certainly, I hate to see progress falling apart. Like, there was one example, Limerick in the football as well. Do you remember Limerick under Billy Lee, and they got to Division 2 and kind of felt like they were making strides, and then they just fell like a stone, back-to-back relegations all the way back down to Division 4. You're just like, well, that was fun. We're back here again.
Tipperary
yeah,
as well, to be
I
fair.
want to see teams make consistent progress where, they can build on it and, make it something that, they don't just fall away. And you look at like examples like Monaghan, where Monaghan had their burst in the early 2010s, where they won the Ulster Championship in 2013, and they were making it to All-Ireland quarterfinals, etc., etc. And the way that they put in the structure so that they're constantly producing new players, which means that they can stay dining at the top table. I think they're a fantastic example of how you can do that. But yeah, that is another weekend review in the books. Matthew, thank you very much for jumping on. Guys, I absolutely love the engagement on this one. Big shout out to Garrett O'Gregan, Jay Gregan, Jack Nulty, Sean O'Malley, Oran McNichol, and Modern Tornado, Liam White, Patrick McDonough, and thanks for saying as well that we're the best people on YouTube. I mean, his words, not mine. Patrick Cahill as well dropped a comment in as well, and I think that is everybody. Guys, thank you so much for the engagement. You made the podcast really, really enjoyable this week. We'll be back midweek for a weekend preview show, and back here Sunday evening at 8 o'clock next weekend on another weekend review show as always. But that's this one. We'll see you on the next one. Enjoy your week. Take care.